Hi, Lawrence LeBrocq, Managing Partner of Garces, Grabler, and LeBrocq. Welcome to Victim to Victory, Triumph Over Tragedy. Today we have the pleasure of having Luba Patlakh Kaplan here, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about her career in audiology for children, taking care of disabled children. But the amazing part is she actually started at Good Morning America. What did you do at Good Morning America?
Early on, I thought that I was going to have a career in broadcast journalism, and I was actually a production assistant on Good Morning America weekend show.
Okay.
But I had to wake up at 3 a.m. every weekend, and this is, post-college, so I wasn't really interested in waking up at 3 a.m. anymore. I loved that, but I knew that to be really successful in broadcast, I'd have to move to Middle America, so I had a change of plans.
And what was your passion, and why did you make that change?
I always really liked helping people, and I thought maybe I could be a doctor, but given that I was so afraid of blood and needles, that wasn't really going to work out well for me. So when I started to go back and research what's a nice field for somebody who wants to be in a medical profession but not with the blood and needles, I came across speech-language pathology, and it struck one with me because I was like, okay, speech, I could help people, I could work with kids, this is creative, and I have the gift of gab, so I went for it.
So you went for it, and did you work for somebody else, or did you go right into your own business?
No, I learned a lot first. While I was getting my master's, I went to work for another company that was an agency you could contract with that worked in pediatric early intervention. And I learned kind of the ins and outs. I was taking cases for them, and then I also worked as a service coordinator in Center City, Philadelphia, so that I could understand how cases come about. And after I learned a lot, I decided to apply and make my own way. And it took a year to become a provider agency of the city of Philadelphia.
And take us through some of those steps. Not every individual step, people fall asleep, but take us through the steps of what you have to go through.
To be honest, nobody helped me. I went to the state website and I started to research and understand what I would have to do. First, it was all a big blur. But once I got involved, the counties wouldn't give me a contract. So I was already licensed, I could provide. And then I'm knocking on the doors, hi, we're a new agency, we'd like to provide services. And they were like, we're good, we have enough agencies. And I was like, I wasn't gonna take that for, after a year of waiting to be allowed. So I started copying the mayor's office at the time. Well, and that's how I got my first contract, actually. It was Mayor Nutter was in office at the time in Philadelphia. And I just kept copying his office, and one day they gave me an approval. And I got my first contract.
So what gave you the courage to do that? To go out on your own like that, spend a year of not even be able to get
waiting.
Yeah, and then having a battle to get somebody to actually hire you. So what made you so passionate about?
While I was working, and now I'm a speech pathologist,
right.
So I'm working with the kiddos, and I'm in a bunch of daycares, and parents are constantly stopping me. Oh, what are you doing with this child, and what are you doing there? And I would be working in the hallway in some of the daycares upon drop-off and pickup times. And I saw how needed it was and how curious everybody was. And I just had a feeling that I need to pursue this further. I speak a different language, I speak Russian, and my community needed me too. I feel like a lot of people were coming into the country or learning about disabilities with kids. They were popping up, but they didn't know where to turn, or they were turning places where they couldn't get that one-on-one support or somebody who could really explain what was happening. And I knew I could be that voice for the families.
No, that's great, because I have a buddy of mine who, when we were kids, his name had an S and two S's, and he couldn't pronounce the S's. So he would call himself Teve. I won't say the last name, but he called himself Teve instead of Steve.
He swallowed his S? Okay,
he did.
That's cute.
So, a speech therapist worked with him and helped him out, and now he's a very successful lawyer. So
you see what we're capable of? It's pretty amazing.
It's amazing. But speaking Russian, you were born in the Ukraine. You've already told me that you migrated to this country when you're 2, so your parents both spoke Russian?
Yeah.
All right, so that was common for you, native for you. You speak it fluently. Now, do you specialize with various cultures, or do you specialize with the Russian community and children that speak Russian?
So my business, Kidology, is a multicultural, multidisciplinary brand. And what that means is we do offer services in a variety of languages. I can list them off if you'd like. Sure. So we speak Russian, Ukrainian, Polish, Albanian, Spanish. I hope I didn't miss anything. A lot of families are coming and want to speak to us in Uzbek. Unfortunately, we don't have any providers speaking Uzbek at this time. Mm-hmm. So if you're out there and you want to work with Kidology in Philadelphia area, please give me a call and you speak Uzbek. But we do use language lines and do everything possible to communicate in the best way we can with families if we don't have their language available. And multidisciplinary means that we offer speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and behavior services. So it's all in one stop shop. We also offer instructional support, which is a one-on-one teacher, and personal care aid. Those are all in different programs, but the bulk of the business is the first four things.
Why don't you break them down and explain what each is and how it applies to Kidology?
Great. So I'm a speech language pathologist, and I would provide speech therapy. And this can be such a wide range of service within speech itself. So a lot of people think, well, you correct speech or you teach someone to speak. Yes, that is just a tiny piece of what we do, depending on the age of the person. So if it's from early intervention and a baby from birth has a swallowing concern or a feeding issue, speech pathologists actually work with nurse aides, and they put a feeding tube on, or there's a tracheal issue and we help support those things. That also leads into social communication issues, airway issues. Later, that could be articulation, and this is all related to autism because maybe a child super intelligent, but they have no social skills or they don't have language. So speech is a large realm. Sure. For occupational therapy, it's a motor skill related. So if kiddos have difficulty with handwriting or don't know how to hold utensils properly, really functionalities of everyday life that people need to learn early on, they work with. And then physical therapy is if somebody has poor core strength, or maybe somebody's born with a disability and they don't have the option to walk right away, we can prepare the tools needed to help them walk and start to train them how to use the stairs, how to sit upright. So it all really starts from such an early age. And at Kidology, we service the birth to 21-year-old population. So we're really coming in to build foundation when the skills are lacking, and then support as people are growing.
Right. So you specialize in speech pathology.
Can you tell?
Yes. So how did you decide with Kidology to bring in all these other practitioners to help so many different children? What made you do that? What was your passion for that?
As I started to work with clients more and more, I would notice that people would come in and say, my child needs X. And then as you're working, you're like, wait a second, well, in order to do X, we need to get A, B, C first. So people always come in with an understanding of, well, my child has this need, not realizing that there are several other needs that need to either work together collectively to get to that. So for example, if a child comes in and they just can't sit at the table, they can't function with you, they have terrible behavior. They're coming in for speech. I'm going to turn to the parent and I'm going to say, hey, I really think we need the support of a behavior specialist or a one-on-one. Otherwise, we're really not going to have progress. The child is not going to participate, so we won't be able to meet our goals. I started to see that as a pattern because it was almost every child, and they needed co-treat. They needed additional support. So why just offer one service? Link up with other people, like-minded individuals in this space, and we can all work together.
Right. And when did you start Kidology?
10 years ago.
And when you first started, tell us about some of the challenges that you had to overcome to be successful.
Ooh, got time?
Sure, we've got time.
It's been a really beautiful journey building a business over a decade. It's my oldest child, I always say. And I think the most beautiful thing for me is that I didn't go in with like any big grand plan. I had an idea. And I'm not a business person, I'm a speech pathologist. Right. And now mom entrepreneur. But I was always a good worker and I was always a visionary. And that really worked in my favor here. And it all kind of started to come together like a puzzle. So first I was kind of like, okay, well, if I get the cases, I'll figure that out and then I could start working. But Okay, well, now I need more workers. It's just me. And then you kind of like start to figure that out. And I'm interviewing people literally in Starbucks because I don't have an office. I don't have money for this. Right. And you won't imagine how many people at that time, you do everything, they come, they sign an agreement, and you never hear from them again. And I'm like, okay, I'm never going to have a business. So I was running into employment concerns, and they're back again today, post-COVID. I mean, it's tough audience out there for jobs. But I think overcoming things like that and not giving up, like employment issue or somebody not liking it, the services that you're offering, or somebody asking to switch a provider, or actually looking for a facility and then it getting flooded, or working with a variety of vendors. I mean, we take 15 insurances. They could turn around and audit me 3 years from the day and be like, I want $30,000. And I have to figure out how to tell them no. So there's always something, is what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
And I think to be a good business owner and be able to climb up and scale is to have the guts not to fall into the trap when a problem comes.
True.
And kind of like climb out every time.
Well, you really don't have a choice because
you don't.
You have to fix every problem that comes aboard. I understand.
Yes.
So why Philadelphia? Why did you open up in that area?
I live there. That's home. I got licensed in Pennsylvania, and we have 2 locations now. So one is in Bucks County, which is the suburbs of Philadelphia, and then one is in Northeast Philly. And then, of course, we have our mobile therapy bus. But it's my home. I hope to be able to expand and go elsewhere. I am looking into a pop-up location in Center City, Philadelphia right now. And I say pop-up only because there's just one of me. And I do have 3 kids. And if I have to drive to Center City to make sure the office can run, I want to test it out first before I commit formally.
So how old are your children?
My oldest is going to they're about 10, 8, and almost 4.
So how do you balance 3 children with a career?
It's a lot of guilt. No, it's really a blessing. I'm very grateful for my village. It does take a village to raise them. My husband and I argue and schedule, and we figure it out. But my dad's on call. He has his nights to drive them wherever they're going. And our kids are different genders and different ages, so they have different activities. It's not like everybody's going to art. Like we have baseball, and we have dance, and we have cheer. The little guy, poor guy, he's figuring out what he likes.
Right.
But our parents help us, and we have a nanny 4 days a week. You do what you can.
Right. It's very difficult. I have 3 children as well, ran a business, so I
what
understand
are their
the
ages?
challenges. Well, now they are 24, 18, and 17.
Okay, so your gaps are a little bit bigger than my gaps,
Right.
but you've been here.
Oh, yeah, I've been there. And now they're a little bit older.
Yeah.
So 2 are in college, and one's a senior in high school and is actually out looking at San Diego State right now
very
as we
cool.
speak. She is on her tour out there. So it's has some challenges of its own. But going back to the children, why children? Why multiracial, multicultural? Why?
I've always loved people. It's funny, today I call my daughter a natural born mother. She gets so mad at me for some reason. I'm like, it's a good thing.
It is a good
She's
thing.
like, don't tell people that about me. I don't know why. But I remember my parents always devoting their lives to like helping people. Growing up, I always saw those examples. My mom was a nurse. My dad worked in the taxi business and then now in watch repair. Everything's around servicing people. And my youngest experience with an autistic girl was actually my aunt took me to a McDonald's for lunch when I was like 6 or 7 years old. And I was in the play gym there, and a little girl ran up and she grabbed me by the hair. And I was scared. I didn't really understand. I'd never, why someone grabbed me by the hair. So my aunt runs over and the mom runs over and she tells her, I guess like she's on the spectrum or whatever was going on with her. This is her communicating. And I feel like that stuck with me. I mean, it's been such a long time, but I remember that day. And that must have, I don't know, it stayed with me so much that I've devoted my life literally to children just like that, because that little girl couldn't say hi to me. She grabbed me by the hair. She didn't want to hurt me. She just wanted to play with me.
Right.
And there's so many kids like her. And I wish that they could all have a voice.
Well, that's very special that you're helping kids with various challenges. That's incredible. Overcoming the challenges. If you could give somebody just starting out any advice, how to be successful. And I'm going to tell you what my answer was to this, because I was just asked this question about a week ago at a book signing. And so I want to know, what would you give somebody who's starting a business in order to be successful? What would you tell them?
First and foremost, don't give up, because every time, and I've my whole life said this to myself. I read it somewhere a long time ago, or someone said it to me, I don't know, but another thing that stuck with me, but every time the going gets so rough that you're like, oh my God, I don't think I could, like there's a hurricane, a tornado, and I just slipped on ice. Like it's that bad. You're about to turn the corner and there will be a beautiful beach and you'll be in paradise. You're going to have another stage of growth. And I feel like for me, every time I've gotten into like a really bad moment, I just keep telling myself, I'm so close to turning that corner and things are going to be really good again. And I just feel like if I would ever just give up earlier or too early before getting there, I wouldn't get there. And I feel like you got to just keep chugging along. So don't get up. Don't ever give up when the going gets rough.
Right. That's exactly what I told this young woman who was starting out as an attorney and said, what advice would you give? And I said, if you never quit, you can never fail.
Yes.
It's just a matter of never giving up. And that's sometimes the toughest thing, because there's always people that are the naysayers. I'm sure you heard that. Somebody telling you, oh, why are you doing this? You could just raise your kids. You could just do something else. And I'm sure you heard that.
People are always like, what? Do you really need this? Why do you need this? Yeah, yes, Susan, I feel like that a lot. Thank you for clarifying that for me. But I feel great. I'm blessed. And yes, I do need this, because obviously I was meant to give back to this for some reason. God has put me to do this. And I have this ability and understanding and gift. And I want to help people. I can see bigger when a parent is struggling without them coming and telling me. I'll come to them in my business, for example.
Right.
So why would I give that up? Even when it's so hard, I have a bigger message.
So another challenge always, you have a great passion. You have the right mindset. How do you develop and engender that culture within your organization?
That is the hardest thing in the organization. And you can't grow without growing your team, because there's only one you. And yes, initially, and I would say the first 5 years, I struggled with that so much, because number one, I'm a type A person, and I'm like, well, who's going to do this like I will, or how can I didn't even know where to begin to explain or put a hat on somebody or a job description. Like I had to later learn those business skills and understand, while I'm so good with people, I'm not a business person. Now I am, but I'm still learning. No. But with the team, I think that once I got my mentorship and I was able to learn more about what I wanted from my business, and I was able to get a repeatable process, I was then able to train people to get to that target. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Because if you can't put into your team and you can't instill what you want to come out, then you're not helping them get anywhere.
Right. And you're growing, because you're on the Inc. 5000 list.
2 years in a row.
2 years, that's awesome. Well, congratulations.
Thank
That's a great
you.
accomplishment for just being around 10 years. So what are you doing now to help you scale and to continue to grow? But the hardest part with growth, as we found out at GGL, is maintaining the quality.
Yes.
So what is your plan to attack that?
I wish I could buy a clone machine.
That would help. That would help.
No, I have a lovely, lovely team. And as we're growing, the new plan for the Kidology growth is to really tackle locations with a designated team. So for a long time, we were kind of like cross-using staff, and you show up Wednesdays here and Thursdays there, and it's a little confusing. Mm-hmm. But to be the most productive, to make sure everybody's schedule is top, because for us, revenue comes from people coming and being seen by providers, and you need to have more providers to see more people. So if you have providers not showing up or clients not showing up, you have a dip, so you don't want that.
Right.
So as we're growing, making sure each location has designated teams, those teams have, KPIs, they understand that they're being reviewed, their numbers are being reviewed, their data is being reviewed to make sure that they're meeting their metrics. Everybody has an expectation.
Sure.
And I think that really helps you push along. And I'm interested in opening additional locations. I also built a mobile therapy bus. I don't know if you've heard or seen it, but the idea is we'll go out to parents and families when they can't get to us.
That's a great idea, and that's unusual.
It's different.
It is, but it takes a certain person to be able to go to somebody's home and help them and their child with a disability or a challenge.
Yes.
So we've talked about the things that you've overcome. What do you see for the future?
I think right now I'm very interested. I think for 10 years I lost the Luba and I was just like Kidology. And now I think that Kidology is doing so well, I can find my voice in my personal branding as Luba. And I want people to know, I'm the voice of the families, the speech expert. I'm working on a program for parents called the Confident IEP Parent. And IEP is an individualized education plan. And it's kind of like a training for parents to understand terminology, understand how to show up to that table and advocate for your child, understand what to give the school and say, hey, I have an expectation. I want my child to do this. Here's what needs to happen. Because parents are coming to these tables and they're being bullied and not getting their needs met. So I really want to tie it all in while continuing to run Kidology, finding my voice so people can know that I'm here for them and offer programming that allows their families to evolve.
What else would you like to tell the audience about Kidology and you?
Well, if anybody wants to reach me, whether it's for your child or you're interested in something business related or you're a speech pathologist and you have a question, or even a student and you have a question, I always answer my DMs on Instagram, and you can find me at Kidology Queen. It's a little cheesy but cute. KIDOLOGYQUEEN. And of course, visit our socials for Kidology and see what we're up to in the clinic and what working at Kidology looks like, and visit the Confident IEP Parent Instagram and website. And we have freebies on there. Sign up if you're a parent and you need guidance for your child's IEP. We're here for you.
That's awesome. How many children and how many parents do you think you've helped over the last decade?
I know my statistic from last month. We were like, I think it was 1,329 for last month. Over the course of time, a lot.
That's incredible.
A lot of children and parents.
Well, on behalf of all those children and parents, thank you, and helping society and help making Kidology a part of the Philadelphia experience for the people that have any challenges and they need you. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for letting me share. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you. If you're enjoying Victim to Victory, Triumph Over Tragedy, please follow us and enjoy our podcast. You can find it on Spotify, as well as you can go to GGL Wins. We have our own YouTube channel to watch any of the podcasts from season 1 or season 2.